As I mentioned in the main video on the topic, devil fruits are mysterious fruits that grant seemingly magical powers and can be divided into three main categories: Logia, Zoan, and Paramecia. There are also artificial devil fruits and devil fruit abilities, but I won't be covering those in this video. You might be thinking that the fact that they neatly fit into three categories may hint at their origins or have some great significance. So let's keep that in mind while we look at these categories. Let's start with Logias, as they are seen by many in the One Piece world to be the strongest category of devil fruits. Many readers and watchers also share this general sentiment, as the main characteristic of a Logia is the transformation of the user into a shapeless substance like smoke, lightning, or swampy goo. Have you ever tried beating up a swamp? If you have, how did that turn out? Did you end up going to therapy? If not, you probably should, because that's not normal behavior. Anyways, being a naturally shapeless substance typically grants the user total invulnerability to normal means of attack, as the attack will just harmlessly pass through. Some individuals with such powers end up relying on their powers thinking that they are invincible, but those users tend to be short-lived in the Grand Line. That being said, those who know of the existence of kairoseki or haki and are not foolish enough to rely on their powers to inherently keep them safe still have a fairly significant advantage. While the individuals we've seen still do take on a human appearance, they truly are amorphous and have full control over the shape they take, allowing them to still avoid contact, in a process often referred to in the One Piece community as pulling an Aokichi. As if this all wasn't enough, they can typically create more of their substance and control at least that which they create, and can often disperse their body, allowing them to fly depending on the nature of the substance. Now let's move on to the Zoan category. Zoans typically grant the user enhanced strength and stamina and allow the user to transform into a specific animal determined by the fruit eaten. The user also has access to a hybrid form, combining the traits of their original form and the new animal form, whether that be a human, a gun, or a reindeer. The aforementioned increase in strength and stamina has also been stated to scale with training, making them incredibly powerful to those who put in the effort. This category has a unique naming scheme consisting of the class or family of the animal followed by the specific animal. For instance, in Arabasta we see the Tori no Mi, or bird fruit, model falcon, and in the Enies Lobby arc we see the Neko no Mi, or cat fruit, model leopard. This introduction of the leopard fruit also came with the statement that carnivorous zones often make the user more aggressive and violent. I'm just gonna stick a minor spoiler warning for Marineford here. It's mostly lore, but just to be safe. Zones can also be divided into two additional subcategories. In the Marineford arc, we see the first mythical zone, the Tori no Mi model Phoenix. Mythical zones often come with special abilities associated with the mythical creature, such as the Phoenix's healing flames or the Golden Buddha's shockwaves. The other subcategory introduced in Sabaody Archipelago was the Ancient Zone, allowing the user to transform into an extinct creature. Most of what we know about Ancient Zones was not revealed until the battle at Onigashima, so just a quick spoiler warning for that as well, because the reveal of what these fruits can do is impactful. Ancient Zones tend to grant much greater resilience and regenerative capability than regular zones, and we also learn that there is only so much that we can learn from fossil records, as dinosaurs had some unique abilities that they used for hunting as well. You would never be able to tell from a fossil that Triceratops could fly, Brachiosaurs were actually more like snakes with detachable legs, or that Pteranodons harpooned their prey with their beaks from a fairly significant distance, not terribly unlike a chameleon tongue. Oda really seemed to have a lot of fun with those. The last category I will be covering in this video is the Paramecia. To be considered a Paramecia devil fruit, it must grant an ability that doesn't fit into the other categories. Yeah, it's the etc. category. Turns out that won't help you figure out where they came from after all. And yeah, I had that line in the main video, but I cut out all of what that leads to and didn't want to think of another way for that to make sense. The wiki has three subcategories. The first is bodily alteration, like letting you turn your body into blades. The second is environmental alteration, including abilities like making beams that slow things down or letting you control gravity. The last is substance generation, letting you create and control a substance like wax or poison. Whole Cake Island also introduced the first and only special Paramecia, which is special because it's so much like a Logia that it was accidentally first introduced as a Logia, but it does not inherently make the user intangible, and the awakening may be different from other Logia awakenings. I'll be covering awakenings in another video. I personally don't like these fan-made categories for a number of reasons. First, it encourages people to shoehorn every ability into one of these categories and make assumptions about how it works based on the category. That's dangerous enough even when the category was officially introduced in the story, and I'll explain why that's still dangerous later. But making assumptions based off of fan-made categories is pretty crazy. Just a real quick spoiler warning for kind of mid-Wano and mid-Dresrosa. The chapters will be labeled to reflect that. Just skip to whatever you need to. For instance, they shoehorned the ability seen in Wano that lets you pinch your cheek while saying Kibidango to make a dumpling that can be fed by anyone to any non-human animal. Yes, humans are animals, just getting that out of the way. Making that animal loyal to the user of the fruit for an entire month. And they conveniently didn't even bother mentioning the ability seen in Dresrosa that stops the user from physically aging while also allowing the user to turn people into living toys, wiping all memories of that person from everyone in the process. Which category is that going to fit into? Secondly, the substance generation section says that the substances made by substance generation are distinct from those made by Logias because they are typically refined and man-made, whereas Logia substances can naturally occur. Then lists poison and wax as examples of man-made substances. Do I really need to elaborate on how ridiculous that is? If you want me to, let me know and I'll do so in the comments. But I should really wrap this video up soon, okay? I mentioned before that making assumptions about a fruit's ability based on the official category given in the story is still dangerous. One thing I did not mention in the main Devil Fruit video, but probably should have, is that we currently have no reason to believe that these categories are inherent to the fruits themselves. They're simply categories that the people of the One Piece world decided to group them into for their own convenience. You have several abilities that turn you into some substance that you can't hit? Might as well make a category. Several others that let you turn into an animal or a hybrid? Why not make a name for those? The real distinction lies in the fact that the people in universe see the labels as just that. Labels created to describe something that already existed. Meanwhile, as readers or watchers, we tend to see the labels instead as a framework used to then come up with something. It is a very important distinction. Does Oda create some fruits based on the categories? Most likely, but does he need to? No, in fact, he breaks the rules of these categories or makes hybrids all the time. Goodbye. So I really have no idea what to say for the end of this one. What's something that you want me to cover? Why haven't you clicked on one of those yet? I'm pointing the right way. Why am I still talking? Hasn't it been easily 15